Welcome back to the Resolution Room, where we turn tension into transformation through clarity, connection, and consistency. I'm your host, Dr. Nashay Lowe, and this is a space where we explore what's really underneath the moments that challenge us and how they can lead to something more honest, more human, and more whole. So let's get into it. One thing I've learned after years of facilitating focus groups and conversations across industries is that the room always speaks before anyone else does. Long before introductions, long before the first question, the room has a tone. It has a posture, a power dynamic, and a story. And if you know how to read it, you can understand exactly what kind of conversation you're about to walk into. I think people assume good facilitation starts when someone begins speaking. But the truth is, it starts the moment you walk in and take the first breath. You can feel who's anxious, who's irritated, who's curious, who's tired, and who came because they want to be part of the conversation, and who came because someone made them. Today, I want to share a few lessons I've learned from those rooms about communication, conflict, human behavior, and what it really takes to guide people toward clarity. Segment 1, the moment before anyone speaks. Some rooms are loud before they're loud. You open the door and the energy hits you like the weather. I've walked into rooms where everyone looked down at their notepads, rooms where people crossed their arms the moment I entered, and rooms where the silence felt heavy, not because people were shy, but because they were guarded or skeptical or exhausted. Some enter with caution, not because they don't want to talk, but because precision matters to them. They're constantly calibrating their words, avoiding overstatements, and thinking in probabilities and caveats. Sometimes they're trying to give you the answers that they think that you want to hear or that would be helpful versus how they actually feel. You learn quickly that silence isn't resistance, it's calculation. And for some people, it's an intellectual responsibility not to speak prematurely. Some people arrive early just to read each other. They know the hierarchy instinctively, who's respected, who's overwhelmed, who's burnt out, and who feels unheard at work. So when you ask a question, they don't just answer it, they answer the system they're navigating. They answer the years of policy changes and pressure and expectation behind it. And then there's those who bring their entire bodies into the room. Their silence holds emotion. Their posture holds trauma or hope or uncertainty. You can see existential questions sitting right behind their eyes. You can see the weight of experiences people didn't believe, didn't understand, or didn't take seriously. Before anyone speaks, you generally can learn and see who feels safe, who feels observed, who feels invisible, and who needs permission. Facilitation taught me this. People rarely express their truth, but their presence will tell you the truth immediately. Segment 2, when one honest voice shifts the entire room. Every group has a turning point, a moment when someone says a thing everyone else has been tiptoeing around. It's not always dramatic, sometimes it's quiet, and sometimes the most powerful moment of honesty barely cracks a whisper. Like the educator who said, "I feel unsupported, and I don't know how much longer I can keep doing this." It was said softly, almost apologetically, but the room shifted. People looked up, a few nodded quietly. The truth didn't land with force, it landed with resonance. It really unlocked something. A team leader admitted, "We don't have all the answers yet," and that's uncomfortable. In a field built on precision, admitting uncertainty takes courage. And when one person takes the risk, others exhale. And then there was the patient who whispered, "No one has ever asked me what this experience has felt like for me." Not what happened, not what went wrong, but how did it feel? That honesty cracked open the room. Not because of the content, but because of the humanity. You don't teach that moment, you protect it. You widen it so others feel it's safe to step through it. Because what people fear most in group settings isn't usually the conflict, it's being the first one to tell the truth. And a good facilitator knows how to recognize that first flicker of courage and honor it. Segment 3. When conflict isn't the problem, the pattern is. Some of the most meaningful moments in a group don't come from harmony. They come from tension. Not necessarily explosive or disruptive moments, but the subtle kind. Two nurses disagreeing about patient care, a student challenging a long-standing academic policy, or a social activist naming systemic injustice in a room full of people who benefit from the structure they're critiquing. In those moments, the instinct is to intervene quickly, to smooth things over, and to keep the conversation on track. But facilitating has taught me something else. The conflict itself is rarely the problem. The underlying pattern is. So people clash because they define the same word differently. They have different stakes in the outcome. Their lived experiences aren't the same, and they're protecting needs you can't see yet. So two people arguing about support aren't actually in disagreement. They're talking about two different things entirely. One might mean, give me resources. The other might mean, give me recognition. Once you surface the pattern, the misunderstanding becomes clear. And when tension makes sense, people can begin to relax, not because everything is resolved, but because their confusion has been replaced by comprehension. In facilitation, this is a breakthrough moment when the room finally understands what the conflict was about for the people involved. Segment 4. The shift you can feel, not measure. There's a moment in almost every session when the room changes. It's subtle, but it's felt before it's understood. It might look like shoulders dropping, leaning forward for the first time, a new voice entering the conversation, a quiet person finally making eye contact, or a collective exhale you didn't realize everyone was holding. It's the moment the room decides, we can actually talk now. This is why I love this work. It's not about getting perfect data. It's not about chasing consensus or harmony. That's my other job as a conflict resolution consultant. And it's not even about the questions. It's about creating a space where people stop performing and start participating, where the truth stops trickling and starts flowing, and where clarity sits down and makes itself at home. And here's the part most people miss. The shift doesn't come from pushing the conversation. It comes from trusting the room long enough for people to trust themselves in it. Good facilitation isn't about control. It's about surrender. It's the quiet confidence to let the room find its own rhythm, its own honesty, and its own way forward. Segment 5. What these rooms have taught me. Facilitating taught me that managing conversations isn't about directing them. It's about witnessing them, guiding them, and protecting them. It's about reading what's said and unsaid, hearing the emotional logic beneath the words, creating safety without coddling, asking questions that move people from reaction to reflection, and allowing silence to do its job instead of rescuing the room from it. And most importantly, every group, no matter the industry or identity, is longing for two things: to be understood and to be taken seriously. When you give people that, even for just 1 hour, the room reshapes itself. People soften, people expand, and people learn. And the conversation then becomes something that can actually change the way they move through the world outside of these doors. As always, thank you for joining me in the Resolution Room. If this conversation moved you, challenged you, or gave you something to carry forward, consider supporting the show. You can explore our wearable wisdom collection in our Mind Shop, where each piece is designed to spark reflection and dialogue. You can also join our growing community for behind-the-scenes conversations, resources, and support of your own journey through tension and transformation. And if you just want to say thank you in a simple way, you can always buy me a coffee. Every gesture helps keep this space going. All the links are in the show notes. And until next time, keep building in the quiet because that's what will carry you forward.